You're a developer, you're not a tester, right? Why should you be writing an automated test? Every single engineer is responsible for the quality of the work they push out. I try to get engineers out of that mindset of thinking, oh, no, 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 there's somebody who's going to check my homework. It's okay. We'll throw it over to the QA.
This guy, this is the police of the team, and then just make sure you push the stuff to him, and then he will tell us if we are arrested or not.
And that right there is what stops most agile teams from becoming a pure cross-functional teams. They can write the test, but they don't know how to test the right thing. They don't know what to look for or how to necessarily break the system or how a user might. All they know is that, okay, I'm going to put this code together. It's going to do this. Done. A lot of teams don't know what the QA is doing. They can't track the QA on the boards. They don't know whether the QA is being successful in their role. They don't know how the QA is prioritizing, what the test strategy is for this product that we're building. So be visible. Should we drop dead today, tomorrow, there'll be a job post that goes up. Someone else will come do what you're doing. Your family will never find another Andy. You understand?
Before
So
you
like
drop,
that's very important.
before you drop, there will be a post out.
Hey, brah, they'll see you cough a couple of times. Chief, hand over. Where's that document? Where's that confluence? Chief, come on. We see you here taking too many breaths up these stairs. Yeah.
What's happening, everybody? Is another episode with your favorite Mr. Cater. I think this is going to be episode, 11, 12? Somewhere there. We are getting there. And today we're going to be chatting with Simphiwe. I'm not going to butcher her name, but I'm going to read it as how I would with my vendor accent. Qwina. I think so. It's something around that. But yeah, Sim, you can go for it yourself, and then maybe just give a little bit about yourself and maybe what you do for a living.
Sure, awesome. Thank you, Andy. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So yeah, my name is Simphiwe Qwina. You are very close with that surname there, Andy. So close. So yeah, Simphiwe Qwina, born in Cape Town, raised in the Eastern Cape in a township called Mtanzane. Yeah, studied, went to school in the Eastern Cape. Then yeah, did my high school, did my university, and then yeah, headed out to Cape Town, where I started my career in like software. But yeah, I'm a very chill chap. I enjoy sports, enjoy like rugby, watching more than playing now. I've gained some weight over the years. Uh, but yeah, so other interests are like chess. I enjoy playing a good game of chess, exploring. Yeah, I'm a very curious person, which I think is very helpful in the software space. Yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I guess what you're doing right now, you're taking us if you're in an interview. Is that some of the tips maybe you of how we can run the interview to say, hey, do you have to sort of go like, what's happening, everybody, and you just sort of get a bit more formal and stuff like that? I mean, how do you do your interviews in general?
So basically, yes, I do my interviews very similar in a very like a formal fashion. For me, it happens automatically. I don't think about it. I think it's something you kind of get over time. You get pulled in one too many teams meetings where you have to get some big names in those team meetings, and you have to clean up your act. So yeah. So it's yeah, it's second nature now. I don't think about it. I'm just gonna say outside of like work and like things like any kind of formal-ish thing. I think I speak very chill. I don't know. You would know. We've been out. You tell me.
No, I just wanted to take it out a bit, just so that we don't really get to the business of the day as early, right? But
Okay.
I think maybe for the people who are listening, Sim is actually a quality assurance engineer or quality assurance specialist. They have so many names, QA, testers. I know he's going to fight with me when I'm saying testers, but he will explain why he's saying all those kind of things. And the field is in the software engineering space, and as well, it's just, these are the gatekeepers of whether your work is right or not. Am I right there, Sim? Do you have a different maybe explanation of that?
I wouldn't say yes, actually. We definitely must check whether it's right. We have built the right thing. It is operating how it's supposed to operate. It's adding the value it's supposed to add. So yes, but I always say this to people. Every single engineer is responsible for the quality of the work they push out. So I try to get engineers out of that mindset of thinking, oh, no, 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 there's somebody who's going to check my homework. It's okay. We'll throw it over to the QA or to the testers or whatever. So yeah, that's why you heard me kind of like a bit hesitant to say yes to that one. But yeah, we are there to check whether we are building the right product.
Nice. Okay, cool. Maybe just a little background about yourself. How was your
Yeah.
schooling in general? How was your university in general as well?
I'll start at high school. It's very normal high school. My parents broke their backs to make sure I went to a good school. Yeah, so I went to like what my uncles and aunts would call Model C school. So I
Okay,
went to Model C school,
okay,
multiracial, really good teachers. But then now the thing for me was, even though I was going to a good school, it took me like 3 taxis to get to school because I was staying in the township, right? So it's like you go to school and you have to behave a certain way, you have to clean up your act, and then you go to the township and it's like things are so different. It's a different world. You have to behave differently for the sake of survival. It's a dog eat dog world. But yeah, so that's basically like high school was very normal. Played sports with the guys, was very active. Yeah, I was a not a very good kid. Got into a lot of trouble in high school, and I was not the brightest at all. Thank you to all my smart friends for helping me copy through the years. Yeah. But yeah, so I went from high school, I went to Nelson Mandela University in the Eastern Cape also. So when I got there, funny story actually about how I chose my course, my university course. So in my high school, we got like these pamphlet things basically to apply for universities. And then they said to us, yeah, you guys must write down your first choice, your second choice. And I'm here. I'm like, I just want to go play. The next thing out here is break time, and we're gonna go and have a jolt with the guys. Then I realized I didn't know what I wanted to do. I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew was that the adults kept saying lawyers have money. Right? So I was like, I'm doing law for real. I want money. Money's, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And then I had to make a second choice, right? And I didn't know anything else other than law, right? And I remember I peeked at my friend's pamphlet while he was filling in, and he had written his first choice as a software development. Right. I was like, bro, what is this? Like, yeah, I know, like it's a developing. And I was like, bro, that's my second choice too, right? Because I was like, you know what? It has to do with computers. We do CAT in school, we'd be typing on Word, doing some Excels. I'm in, bro. Yeah, then they didn't take me for law, fortunately, God's plan. They didn't take me. They took me for my second choice, and they took my friend for his first choice. So then my journey in varsity begins, Nelson Mandela. Took me 6 years to finish that qualification. It was a 3-year diploma. Took me 6 years to finish it. It wasn't a very pleasant story to talk about a couple of years back, but I mean, now it's something to laugh about. And it's a sort of like something I tell people to tell them, listen, Ru, it will happen in your time. Just don't give up.
sure.
If I'd given up on the 5th year, I don't know what I would be doing today. Yeah, so went there, got a solid understanding of software concepts, software design patterns, everything software. They had really awesome lecturers there. So yeah, did that, moved to Cape Town.
The thing is, I just have a few more things that I wanted to relate back to your
Yeah,
university and as well as your high school, right? So I mean, you spoke about being at a model school, C school, and then you had to then go back to Kasi, and then you were kind of a double agent if you think about it in that way,
yeah.
right? Oh, okay. I don't know why these bubbles are. I guess it's just celebration.
I was going
That's
to say
good.
bubbles,
It's powerful.
balloons.
It's nice. It's powerful. Nice, nice. So
Sure.
yeah, it's AI, by the way. So let's move on. But yeah, so you had to sort of live a double life from there, right?
Yeah,
Do you did it sort of take a lot of effort to then say now we need to adjust, now we need to talk our English from the nose, and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
obviously when
yeah.
you go back there, melo khulume bafo, we can't be living with you
Yeah.
talking to us in the
What is
nose and
this?
stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, how did you go about it? I mean, I know it sounds like a simple ABC, right? But
yeah,
I'm just imagining it sort of takes a lot because I'm sure there was a reason why you went to model C school just to get,
yeah.
that what they say the model schools had and stuff like that. How did you sort of balance such a mindset?
To be honest, it wasn't something I actually really gave much thought to, mostly
Okay.
because there were other kids who had similar stories, right?
Okay.
Also, whose parents were just doing the most to make sure they could get this education. So oftentimes I'd go home, even if they weren't in my school, I'd meet some of them in town, maybe might catch a train or a taxi, and then so I had like-minded people around me who could relate to sort of this adjustment we now need to make. You get to the taxi rank, pull your shirt out because we have to tuck it in school. Pull your shirt out, you drop your socks, you lift your collar. survival mode now. It wasn't really something we thought about. It was just something we did, and we were really naughty. So it wasn't a hectic adjustment for us
Okay.
to kind of just blend in. It was the difficult part was blending in at school because at school the teachers watched you like a hawk. So you could only
Why?
pretend to be a good boy till so far. I think
Why were they looking at you that way? I mean, again, is it
I
because
think
you were just a naughty kid, or there was like maybe some other things you thought you suspected were happening behind the
I
scene?
think they saw that we were on the wrong path.
Okay.
So that when adults see you going astray, right? I would like to think that adults will make means to try and put you on the right path again. So
Mm-hmm.
what they do things like take us from the back and come and make us sit in the front and maybe separate us in other
Mm-hmm.
classes. So I mean, yeah, they were watching us like hawks. And our parents would also like tell them like, hey, watch that. I know he didn't do his homework and he's been flanking. You watch him. So I mean, we always had eyes on us.
Yeah, which is crazy because now that you're old, you sort of appreciate those moments. And somebody obviously
Yes.
who's in high school right now and they're getting such a treatment, is like, no, this teacher is picking on me, but they don't realize that life is more than just having friends and then doing only naughty stuff.
Andy, the most dangerous teachers are the ones who let you do that stuff and they don't say anything and they just think, no, I'm tired of these kids, and they walk out the class and go smoke. That's very dangerous. We really, really must appreciate those ones who actually did something, put you in detention for doing something wrong, corrected that behavior that was bad in you.
I
So
see.
yeah, I really agree with that.
Okay, cool. I think also the very same thing applies to work. Same thing applies
Yeah.
to home. Thing applies to friends. If they can't really
Yes,
call
sir.
you out, well, what are you gonna learn in
Are
life?
you really, my friend? Tough conversations must be had.
You get what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I think maybe let's just quickly move forward. Did you really see a big difference again between these Model C schools and the normal schools that we were going to, other than just the nice classrooms and the use
Sure.
of English? Because I do know, I'm fortunate enough to just sort of have friends and people who can take either their kids or their nephews to those very good schools and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I always just listen and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But what do you think about
So
it if we are to sort of put it together?
I personally think there is a difference. So there's a number of a difference in benefits, rather. Let me put it that way. So the biggest benefit, which is obviously obvious to most people, is how you speak and interact with people. Because you're used to interacting with all these different kinds of races. You're exposed to so many cultures. I think you learn a lot faster, and you get to your social skills become a lot better very quickly. But with that said, right, I do not think Model C schools are, I don't want to use the word better, but for lack of a better word, I'll use that word, right? I don't think they're necessarily better than normal schools, kokas, because at the end of the day, we all write the same paper. And us who went to these nice posh schools, you can find some horrible, horrible failures going on in some of these schools. It's really a situation on situation thing and very individual based. If you want to make it, you make it in any environment. Yeah. If you want to listen to your parents and do your homework and like put your best foot forward, you will make it, whatever environment you get put in. But now, one of the major benefits for like Model C schools is that the schools aren't that big, the classrooms aren't that big. So maybe in a class you'll have like 20 to 25, maybe even 30 children. It's not so difficult for one teacher to manage them and to know that, oh, so and so is quiet today. What's going on? Oh, so and so today they're not here. Where are they? Right? As opposed to a class where there's maybe 100 children. That's one teacher. That's they only human beings. So there are some benefits and drawbacks, and
I don't want us to talk about schools like we're experts. I think maybe we should
yeah,
just
no, no, no.
quickly rush to the QA stuff, right?
Sure.
I think maybe you can just take the story from the university and you went to somewhere Cape Town. I mean, how did you get
Yeah,
into being a QA, and how was the first-hand experience, jumping into your
sure.
first job and then, kicking it from there?
So I didn't actually know about QA until I actually
Okay.
got the job, which is a funny story. But anyway, yeah, I know. It
You
sounds
can
very
tell me
weird.
that story. You can tell me that story.
So,
Like,
so up until 2019, I think I had no idea what QA was. I had no idea what testing was. So I went from university as a grad. Now I'm coming into the world. I'm thinking, hey, things are going to be cool. Had a bit of an unemployment phase. Can chat about that as well. But then I managed to get an internship as a web dev, as a developer. So I get this job as a developer. We're writing code, Node.js, React, AngularJS, some PHP stuff with Laravel. Like it's nice. We're learning on the go. We dealing. We're learning. We're implementing on the go, right? And I'm with like-minded people. And then now the internship is coming to an end. We have like a month left for the internship. And the guys who are connected in industry or have like the proper skill sets, they're getting jobs. They're leaving. They're leaving before the internship ends. And now the pressure's rising. The pressure's rising. And then I remember the gentleman who was running the internship. He organized his friends in industry who wanted to employ like interns. It was like, no, come through to the office, come interview some of the kids. If you like one, make them an offer, right? Then this guy comes in, Anton comes in. He says, okay, guys, I'm interviewing for QAs, testers. I'll be in this room. Whoever wants to come in and interview with me, come in and interview with me. So, I mean, obviously, a bunch of us went. None of us know what the hell this QA thing is. All that we know is that we need a job.
Of course.
We just need a job, bro. And then, so we get in, he gives us a little Java, a little exercise that we do this exercise. And then he asks, so do you know what this job role is, what you're going to be doing? I told him straight that, I just know software. I'm willing to learn anything software related. I'm not really sure what happens. And he was like, okay, cool. You got the job, bro. Got the job. Went home, told him, I'm a QA, I'm a QA. It's like, so what are you gonna do? What's fun? What are you? It's like, I don't know, bro, but I'm gonna go to Span tomorrow. Yeah, sure. So I got into QA. I remember the first time I visited the offices for the company I started with. It was like an open plan, almost like a call center type of setup. And I remember seeing a guy who had a cup of coffee in his hand, and he was looking at his screen, and on his screen it was clicking around, it was doing things, it was clicking, it was opening windows. I'm wondering if these guys are hackers, must here. What's going on here? And then I was very interested in that. I was like, I need to learn this. And then I got in, we learned automation. I had some very awesome mentors who I still contact and talk to even today. Gave me all the information I needed to succeed, and the rest was in my court, right? And then the one thing that stood out for me with the whole QA thing was that most companies really don't understand what QA is, or back then at least. They really didn't know what QA was. All they knew was that we need a QA so that our product doesn't break in the hands of the clients, right? That's all. That's really all they knew. So we had opportunity to laze around, we had opportunity to learn, we had a lot of time, right? And so I invested a lot of time into learning concepts of QA, of testing, automation, learning what the differences are between these QA, QE, QC. So I took some time. And then, yeah, one of the things that really helped me was a certification called an ISTQB. So after doing that certification, yeah, it really opened my mind up to exactly what my job description is, what I need to be doing. Then ever since then, I've just been kind of QAing, deving where I can. But yeah,
So would you say you guys are like the hackers before the hackers kind of a thing? So you're there to hack the system to just
the first line of
no
defense.
first line of defense if you think about it. So it's like okay. So I mean, you spoke about QA, QE, QC. What are those?
Yeah.
Like, what are the difference? What do they mean actually?
So I can't speak too much about QC. I suspect
Okay.
QC is very delivery manager focused, but I'm not sure. I stand to be corrected. So QA is basically trying to improve the process, how the developers are doing things, the standards. How are we doing things? How can we improve things? Where are our bottlenecks? How can we resolve them? So identifying those, strategizing on ways how you can sort of improve those, and following through to actually implement and enforce those quality gates, right? So that's QA. Testing is a subset of QA. It's a child of QA. QA is the parent, and then so it's a subset of QA then. And then QE is then it's your more technical guys. It's the guys who will set up your automation runs, your test automation runs on the pipeline. It's the guys who will make sure that we actually have automation tests running. And the guys who will make sure that we have the right extensions to maybe catch code smells within our code, things like that, right? So QE is a lot more technical, and QA is a lot. QA technically shouldn't be writing code, but I mean, companies define QA
It is what
however
it
they
is,
wanna.
yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? So that is the main difference. But for my role, I am mostly QA, but I specialize in automation. So I will write some automated tests, but my main focus is making sure that the team is delivering a code that has very few bugs, if any at all, right? That's the difference between the two.
Okay, for me, they just look the same, to be honest. So it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
guys, this guy, this is the police of the team, and then just make sure you push the stuff to him, and then he will tell us if we are arrested or not.
And that right there is what stops most agile teams from becoming pure cross-functional teams.
Okay.
Because we want to obviously get someone who's hired to do the testing, let them do the testing type of mindset, right? And that stops us from actually owning and being responsible, fully responsible for the work we're producing. So that's one of the many struggles.
Spoke about, I just want to get out a bit on this cross-functional teams thing, right? So when you spoke about cross-functional teams, how can they be achieved, or how do you think they can be achieved when in a team wherein there is like software engineers and then obviously QA, QE in them? I mean, the reason why I'm asking that is because I never really like the concept of cross-functional team. I don't mind doing I don't mind doing a little bit of QAing and making sure the work that the other dev is doing and all those kind of things are doing and whatever. But I don't really mind that. But having to assume a lot of such a responsibility to me, or sort of do it cross-functional, like you're saying, well, it wasn't really my very strong point. How do you suggest that gets achieved, and maybe where do you bump heads with the delivery managers or delivery leads?
Yeah. So
Agile teams.
I mean, you're a developer, you're not a tester, right? Why should you be writing an automated test, right? So I completely get that. I understand that 100%. And automation testing traditionally isn't like an easy thing to do. But I mean, with all the capabilities we have today with AI, guys, you can basically go put a test case in a flipping AI prompt and get the whole test out there. Takes 10 minutes of your time, right? And the reason we really would want to have a cross-functional team where everybody can see through their piece of work from development to testing to integration, make it product ready, right? So if we can get to that point, that means that when Sim is off sick or when Sim is having a baby and Sim's not here for a couple of months, you guys can continue on with adding to the test cases, maintaining the quality of the product, right? Things aren't like lying on one team. We're not decoupling. We don't want dependencies, right? And we wanna work the same way we code, right? We want less dependencies. We want to be in out quick, right? So it's not a very easy thing to do. I'm still seeing a lot of companies struggle trying to get, mostly it's like a people thing, trying to get developers to come to the party, trying to get developers to, I mean, you can say it 1,000 times, right? Even with things like unit testing, which is literally designed for developers during development, you'll find that if a dev can curve writing a unit test, they'll curve it first chance, right? And so that's a very difficult thing, is trying to get people to come to the party and actually do their bit, right? And for me, I've found that the best way to try and go about this from a leadership point of view is to get the buy-in from leadership first and foremost. Start it at the leaders. Don't try and tell 200 people that, guys, we are tomorrow, everyone, unit test. Start with the leaders. When the leaders get it right and they understand it, they will filter it down to their teams, right?
So the biggest problem obviously is the adoption of it. To say people are they repel on they sort of don't want that thing as much as they can in their life. But maybe if we can talk a little bit about the benefits from this chat, maybe they can see why they need to start having that. I think you spoke about the idea of having a decoupled team, but also have a view of the whole plan of what the team is doing, other than just being a ticket developer or a story developer, where you just sort of, hey, I'm given a story to change the button color to yellow, and that's all I care about. And then
do you know why
we're
changing to yellow? Do you like these things are important, guys. We need to take ownership of the things we work on.
Sure.
For me, it's like testing is very expensive the later you do it. So let's do it early. And when I say it's expensive, like time is money. It takes time for us to resolve bugs when we catch them later down the line. I'll make you an example. This whole having a separate QA team thing, right? We can have a separate QA team, fine. You do your work, you're done doing your work. Let's say you finished on Tuesday. Tuesday, you give me the work. Hey, Sim, ready for testing, right? I come in. I have my own work, right? Maybe I don't get to it on Tuesday. Maybe I get to it on Wednesday, right? On Wednesday, I get to it. I check your work. Hey, yeah, man, this button is not working the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to hover, and there's a tooltip here that appears. Hey, Andy, no, man, you need to redo this. This button is not it's not behaving correctly, right? You take the ticket again, right? You work on the ticket. It's now Friday, right? You listen, you could have just called me over to your desk. You could have opened your ticket on your story if I had put test cases in there. You could have done this at your desk without calling anyone, without depending on me, who has other work, who still needs to do this and that. We could have killed something that took us a week to realize that there's something wrong. We could have realized in 2 days or a day, right? So when I say testing becomes expensive, it's like things like that. We want to save on time. We also want to, running automation tests are expensive, guys. We want to test as early as possible. Want to have unit tests, want to have integration tests before we even get to that uh, end-to-end UI, right? Because UI tests, they take so long to run, they flaky, they are, some of them are difficult to maintain depending on how you write them. It's a mess. Rather than having something that can run in 1 minute, well, no, they shouldn't be. Shouldn't have a test running in a minute. But anyway, in a couple of seconds, that can validate and tell you if you've broken something in this new change that you've made. Yeah, it's a, and the thing people always talk about is like, I will write unit test, but then this ticket that's going to take me 5 days will now take me 8 days because I need to unit test, right? We have AI now, right? And yes, learning it, if you started from scratch and you don't know unit test or you don't know API test and you started from scratch, yes, that 5 day ticket will take 8 days because there's a learning curve. You have to learn. But once that ball's rolling and you understand what you're doing, and Sims come to your desk a couple of times to show you, no, listen, you missed this test case. Let's rather do this way. After a couple of times of iterations of that, you will be back to doing 5 day tickets in 5 days, and they
I
won't be
see.
coming back a month later with a issue in them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you guys are one of those people who are sort of hated or not really liked by the team.
No, nobody
So
says that out loud.
yeah, well, I'm saying it up on behalf of all the developers and software engineers and money. Somebody has to say it, guys.
Yeah.
Somebody has to say it. You guys are one of those people who are not so liked by developers or whoever is doing the work that you're sort of testing against
Yeah.
for. Right. And I think I would like to believe it's because of the idea that everybody thinks they are right and every developer believes that their work is the best quality and there's no one who can ever write quality code than them ever in their life. Right. How do you sort of manage that as a QA? Because I believe this is a skill that you sort of need to have from a very young age as a QA, like when you're starting out as a junior or an intern. This is one thing you have to be matured by default.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
always going to just be telling everybody from the corner office, you just throw a mouse and then boom, you can't say me like that, and it's just
Yeah.
a havoc and all those kind of things. How do you make sure that that sort of works and your relationship sort of works and with the rest of the team, which is the development team?
Your relationship with the team is it's very important as a QA. That is foundation, like especially because a large part of our work is bringing in bugs, showing you what's wrong with this piece of code that you've just now put in, right? And people need to understand that it's not that we don't get a thrill out of it, right? It's something we have to do so that the customer doesn't catch it. Because what happens is I catch it, yeah, cool. Angry at me might take you another day to work on this ticket. But if the customer catches it and the business loses money from it, we're gonna be in some very hot meetings. We're gonna get some very, very not very nice calls, right? Gonna throw our whole week off. So rather we find our own mistakes amongst each other. Let's correct each other before we actually go out into the world and then give them our product, right? When you're gonna be doing things like that, bringing out like flaws and bugs in code or something, you need to approach also. This person mustn't think that I'm like, yeah, I got you. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. You incompetent bastard. We don't want that. We want the person to say, yes, Sim, thank God you caught this, bro. Yeah, let me quickly fix this, right? So even how you deliver it to them. Listen, I saw that ticket on that button ticket you worked on. can I come to your desk quickly and show you something? Go to his desk. Yeah, sure, ABC. This is what's not working here. Okay, cool, bro. Can you set the status back to active, and then we'll just leave a note on the ticket. Easy peasy, right? Well, we shouldn't leave a note on the ticket. We should create a bug. Don't leave
Don't listen to
comment.
that
Create a
one.
bug.
Wrong advice. Wrong advice.
Yeah, we need those bugs for the metrics at the end. Otherwise, hey, we need those bug counts. But anyway, yes. So you need to build a relation. It's on you in how you interact with your team, right? And also, I believe your leadership structure should also create an environment where you guys don't feel like images on a screen, or you guys don't feel like just another number at work. Take your team out for coffee. Go do something that's not work related. Get to know this person. Who is this guy? This guy, he had a kid who was sick last week. How's his kid? This guy, he got married. Dude, how's you know, talk to people like people. We're not AI, we're not robots, right? So building that personal relationship is very important, especially in this remote time that we're living in. So yeah, I think nothing beats relationship. Yeah, you can't hate me, Chief. I'm doing my job. Yeah,
Yeah.
you understand.
Yeah, I guess I guess you guys are like the doctors, whether the doctor is coming with good news or bad news, you just sort of have to maintain a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
And with you guys, if the tests have passed, well, that's good. But if they failed, they still have to tell you, because we need to get
Yes.
a very quality
Yeah,
product here.
that's a very nice analogy. I like that example you made with the doctors. Yeah,
Eh,
because they will put you on these machines and they'll check and they'll check. I mean, if that guy comes and he says there's nothing wrong with you, and then an hour later you drop when you walk out of there or wherever you are, you pass out, hey, this guy didn't do his job. There's something he didn't
Yeah.
catch. You understand?
Nice.
So even in things like a medical field, quality assurance, make sure that you find it before it becomes a bigger problem, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Would I be butchering it if I say quality assurance is all about making sure that you find issues that could potentially impact your product or whatever you're building when the people or when the consumers or users are sort of using it? Can I put it under that whole umbrella? Because I mean, for me, this quality assurance thing, it just looks like one of those what do we call this thing? Areas that people are not aware of. I mean, people are sort of aware of software engineering, doctors, lawyers, and all those kind of things. And with quality assurance, you guys don't even have a course in the university. We are starting to be quality assurance. I mean,
That's true. That's a very
I mean,
sad truth, actually.
yeah, so maybe just to finish that statement, I mean, how do I get to be a QA engineer then if there is no cost to make me a QA engineer out there?
QA engineer, you are still a software professional. You are dealing with software, right? You need to check the quality of the software, the maintainability, the reliability. So I would say first and foremost, understand software. So for me, it was absolutely, I don't know how things just fell into line the right way, but starting with development and then going into QA helped me a lot. It did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Yeah, I think understand software, understand how software should be built, understand how it works, and then look at how we can improve it, how we can make sure that it's bug free, how we can make sure that we can scale it. Yeah, so I don't go look for a QA course. Look for a QA course once you understand software. Rather go do software first, I would say.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Is the only way to get into QA via is it ISTQB? These are
Got
not
it.
very
That's the one.
complicated. Oh, I got
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah,
I was
you
just saying
got
that.
it.
I was just throwing random letters there. Is it the only way?
Yeah.
Is
Bro,
it the only way to get into QA? Do you have to just only get that certification, or I could just go to a Udemy course and then kick off it from there? I mean, what significance does that certificate hold? And I mean, do companies still need it even today?
yeah, I think they do. You know,
Bless you.
we've interviewed people who have like people without an ISTQB, right? And they've aced the interview. Like they know. I don't know how they know, or they have another screen there or someone whispering to them. And some of them are very technically inclined as well. They're very good at coding. They can show you some of their GitHub projects. But I think now, for me, I always want people to have an ISTQB because you will always find those people that don't have it, ne? And they like very technical, they're very good. They can write the test, but they don't know how to test the right thing. They don't know what to look for or how to necessarily break the system or how a user might. All they know is that, okay, I'm going to put this code together, it's going to do this. Done, right? So we will help you think outside the box, think about testing. I think the certification is important just to show the world that, listen, I've been through that content. I know what's in there. I understand the fundamentals. Here's my certificate to prove it, right? And I'm not very big on certificates, but in this particular regard, I would say for me, it is an important one.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where as people, we already know how to sleep, right? But if you're having trouble with sleeping, you go to a doctor or to somebody who's going to teach you how to sleep, and you'll be like, but I knew this, but then they taught you in a different way. No, it's not funny, but I'm just saying, more especially if you
Right.
obviously work long hours and all those kind of things, you get to a point where sleeping becomes a small problem and stuff like that.
The work-life balance, guys.
Yeah, work-life balance. So it
You
gets to
you
that
can't
point.
have that because you are an entrepreneur. Cannot have a work-life. You work life when you are in the dead. That's when you rest.
Funny
Yeah,
enough,
but yeah.
funny enough, I try, eh? I think maybe the one, what do we call these things? The one message I always like to sort of get across is I do have the time. I think for me the one line I never cross, it's never compromise on family, never compromise on health,
Brother,
and that's it.
say that louder, bro.
Yeah, I do work crazy. I think people shouldn't get it wrong. I do work crazy, but yeah.
And on that point you just said, Andy, that's very important. Should we drop dead today, tomorrow, there will be a job post that goes up. Someone else will come do what you're doing. Your family will never find another Andy. You understand?
Before you
like,
drop,
that's very important.
Before you drop, there will be a post out.
Hey, bruh, they'll see you cough a couple of times. Chief, hand over. Where's that document? Where's that confluence? Chief, come on. We see you here taking too many breaths up these stairs. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's
And I
facts,
think
bro.
maybe that's one thing maybe I think we don't really want to talk about to the core. I really respect my job or what I do, right? And I'm appreciative of whatever that is happening in my life. But I think above all, the health and family comes. The health obviously is all about me and me alone. And then obviously there's family. And if nothing is really making sense there, we gotta look at some few things. Otherwise, let's not be like life coach. Let's go back to the QA, right? I think we got a bit technical on the QA. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to sort of add from the knowledge of a QA that you maybe got to learn over time, like the biggest lesson probably that you got to pick up as you are QAing. I mean, I know you have moved from like being an intern all the way to a junior, and then you became a lead. You became a lead and the senior at the same time, and then you are like a specialist right now. I mean, you have just became everything. I'm asking myself, what positions are we gonna fill if you're being everything? Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, what changes did you get to see over time, and what other things maybe do you think maybe the people should be looking at as well as you were navigating that, be it on the soft skill side or on the technical skill side?
I think so. Something that comes to my mind right now is be visible.
Okay.
A lot of teams don't know what the QA is doing. They can't track the QA on the boards. They don't know whether the QA is being successful in their role. They don't know how the QA is prioritizing, what the test strategy is for this product that we're building. So be visible, be in your team's face, Don't let people come looking for you to find out how the tests are looking or how things are going. Offer up that information every morning. Tell them in stand up, hey, regression ran, guys. Hey, we have 50 failures more than yesterday. Something's wrong, right? Or even if it's redundant, even if it's passing the whole time and you keep telling them passes, be visible, right? Don't try and hide. I know it's very nice when you are in a team that doesn't or in a company that doesn't understand QA. You can hide for a long time, a very long time. You go on for a year. Then when performance review time comes, then everyone's like, now, Chief, what did you do? Yeah, now and then it's hot now. Yeah, and then it's so be visible. I think that's number one for me. Continuous learning. It's another very big one. Things are changing very quickly in the tech game. New positions popping up. Don't limit yourself to just QA. So as QA, right, you sort of look at the system from the perspective of the client. But from within your team, you also understand why, from a business point of view, this needs to happen because you're supposed to be sitting with your PO where they're telling you that, hey, we have a requirement like this. You guys need to build something like this. So you can branch out into things like project management. You can branch out into software. I know a lot of QAs who've gone from QA to software. You can go into DevOps because you're setting up pipelines anyway. You're making sure that the quality gates are so don't limit yourself, like branch out if you like. But yeah, I think biggest one is visibility. Um, yeah. Show your team
100%.
what value you add.
You know, I used to have as well trouble with quantifying the work that the QA has done or is doing in my teams as well.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it just looks like that kid that you'd be like, "Oh, but we're not are you useless, but I don't know if you're useful or
I know.
useless."
Don't see that.
I'm just saying it in in simple English like that anyone
Yeah.
would understand. No, I'm pretty sure every lead or every manager or whatever stuff like that would say. I mean, until obviously I got schooled to say, okay, this is what really I'm producing and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where it comes back to the point of be visible, like be in the people's eye. Every day in the morning when people wake up, they just be like, another day, Sim is going to be telling us about regression. And I think the
Yeah.
biggest point as well is don't just be visible and talk about regression because I don't even understand what regression is. Like maybe show me where this is helpful as well
Yeah.
to the team.
Yeah.
Sort of, you are like a salesman
Yeah.
selling the importance of test of the software that was written by the developers to the developers, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you are just some guy in the middle of nowhere and you don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be very demotivating because you can always tell when your team doesn't really know what you're doing or what you're saying, what your update is in stand up. People are just like, okay, sure. You said something. He's here.
But let's talk about, I mean, now that we spoke about how, be visible and the top important things of a QA and stuff like that, right? Let's talk about 2 or 3 ways that QAs can be placed within their teams, right? There is a case where let's say we have about 4 developers and then just 1 QA, right? And there's a case where it's just a team of 5 developers and then somewhere in the middle of the product or towards the end, they just introduce 3 QAs and they'll be like, boom, you guys make sure this works and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, maybe you can put your own scenarios and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't really have to put people's names. I don't want to get in trouble. It's not like I'm afraid of trouble either way. But yeah,
I might.
I'm not. So, but can we talk about those two ways? I mean, those two approaches of people doing QA, because people think a QAing is a step in the process instead of putting it as a part of the process.
Yeah.
Can we talk about those, and then can you tell us maybe a few scenarios where you got to fail miserably or pass miserably using either one?
I've actually worked in both setups.
Okay.
Where I see most companies are moving away from this way of doing things now in the whole spirit of being cross-functional teams and what. That whole throwing it over the fence to the team of 3 QAs who must now check whether everything's working correctly and find the bugs where they are. It works, right? And it's less pressure for the QAs because they're focusing on this one. When we get this work, there's 3 of us, we split it up. It's pressure if there's not enough time to test, right? Fine. But now they are limited to just what they're doing. They don't have, imagine if one of those guys had the potential to be a developer. He doesn't even see what's going on in the code and who's the right person to talk to, who's the subject matter expert in this field, who's the front end guy, who's the back end guy. How do they tie together? It's unfair for the test team because we're not giving them the opportunity to be in that room where they can hear something and be like, oh, wow, these guys are doing this. Let me learn this. Maybe I might actually like this. Right. So just from that point of view, but also it takes away from the team, from the engineering team, being able to take full responsibility of the work that they are producing. Because obviously we're throwing it over the fence. We'll see later if those guys say there's a bug. We'll assign it to someone, prioritize, whatever. I used to work in that sort of setting. It worked until it didn't. Now the whole 1 QA in a team of 5 thing. I like it, né? But you need to do it very cautiously because if you think that 1 QA is going to automate every single test case for each and every one of these 5 devs within that sprint, there's no way. You're setting this guy up for failure, right? So I think this is where now you'd want to sit down with your team and talk test strategy, right? Guys, there's 5 of you, there's 1 of me, right? But the main reason I like this approach is because 1, I'm in the team. I'm there every time with stand up with the dev team, with the product team. I know what's going on. I know who to talk to when there's a bug on this layer. If I want to go digging into an element and add an ID into something, I have the capabilities. I know where the repos are. I know what's going on, right? I'm in the know-how. So when you are alone in the team, you need to manage expectations in that you need to tell your team, like, guys, there's too many of you. There's one of me. So the only thing I'm going to do now, this is always what I advise people in teams like this, and it's a lot of teams like only automate the critical parts. Yes, there might be 10 10 test cases per ticket, right? Just find the two critical parts. Ask yourself, this thing that this guy's building, what is the customer going to do with it? Can the customer do what they need to do with it? Don't worry about the other stuff. The other stuff can be raised on lower layers, like integration, unit test, or you can come back and do it later in your backlog, but get the critical pieces out the way first, right? Don't try and automate everything. For the teams that are outside the dev team, 9 times out of 10, they try to automate everything, every single thing, right? Which is why they have regressions running for 2, 3 hours. But that's neither here. So personally, I prefer these teams that are trying to be pure cross-functional, that have one QA. And your job in a team like that as a QA is not necessarily to keep up with automation. Your job is to make sure, is to teach the team how to test their own work, how to ensure quality in the process that we're doing things. Like you're closing those gaps that make us produce this work slower at a quality that's not up to scratch, right? Yeah, I think that's my take on the whole test team outside, test team inside, right?
So what you're saying is what's nice about having maybe at least one QA that is rolling with the team throughout is that that person could even help you guys improve some of the processes because they can see that, okay, we are just writing 50 unit tests or 50 test cases, I mean to say, but it's not really that much that we need to go to. We're just sort of wasting a lot of time in some of these things. Even some of the way we are doing whatever, shipping out the software, it's probably not
Identify
the best
those
when
bottlenecks. Yeah.
Okay, fair. I like that. Okay. So then, I mean, you guys always talk about like this unit test integration and all those other things. So I mean, they just sound all the same to me, right? But with that in your mind, right? Can you just tell me maybe the biggest difference between the QA and the tester? I mean, you are a big believer that those two things are different. And I mean, do they both do integration? Do they both do run unit tests?
So let's step outside let's step away from tester quickly and just look at testing, right? So
Okay.
testing, like I alluded earlier, is a subset of QA and a subset of QE. It's also a subset of development, right? So at any level, with anything we're doing, we need to test it, right? Doesn't matter the kind of test we're running. That's beyond the point. But there needs to be a test to verify whatever we're doing in that process. If we're saying, okay, we're going to do sprint backlog grooming, rather, right? We're going to talk about these tickets, size them, score them. Bah. Now, we need to look at that requirement. We've gotten the requirement. That was the main thing that we're here for. We're going to test this requirement. We're going to look at what is involved in this. What does this mean? So what if the user actually does this instead of doing that? How does the system behave, right? Once we've identified all those gaps and we have a solid understanding of the requirement, our tests, they are done. That's past the test. We can now go pick this work up. This work is ready to be picked up. It's past the test of the requirement. We've tested the requirement. Now, we don't really call it testing the requirement. Well, I do, but it's like a QA thing. We move on to development. Tests need to happen there. Both you as the guy writing the thing, you need to click around and run this thing locally, spin up the environments, click around, see if it's doing what it's supposed to do. That's a test. You're verifying your work. You did something, you're checking whether it's right. So testing is its own thing. Well, not it's a subset of these activities. It goes with each activity, right? If you have a tester, right, say we have a manual tester, this person's role is now to actually go and physically go in the environment and check whether this is aligned with what the business requirement has said, what the BRS has said, what is stipulated in the acceptance criteria, right? The automation tester, so how it should work actually, the manual tester should first do those verifications and then hand over to the automation tester. The automation tester will take it and say, okay, you have looked at these things, you said these things are running, you've given them a stamp of approval. I will now write them in automation so that you never have to run these tests again. We can just press a button and they can keep rerunning themselves so that you don't have to do silly things like having people run manual regressions for over 200 test cases. That is silly. That's
It's wrong.
crazy. It's wrong, bro. So testing, it's again everyone's responsibility. QA, the way things are going right now in industry is looking like it's also going to be everyone's responsibility, right? Teams must just be able to see through a work item from beginning to end. Development, testing, integration, product ready, prod ready. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. You gonna say?
Nice. No, I'm 100% agree with you. Just that when you have a thought, you be like, I want to say it, but you're like, no, this
Say
is
it,
this
bro.
guy's time to talk. Say it, yeah. So I think maybe it goes back again to the very same thing that you said. You wouldn't advise somebody to just go straight to QA, but rather go through some sort of software and then become a dev and
Yeah.
do other interesting thing, because like you're saying, people are moving away from QA over time, and I think it's gonna be something like that. I think just before this chat we spoke about how the whole, because back in the day, I'm sure a tester used to have a role on their own, but then right now, like you're saying, tester is a subset of all these different roles. Like a developer can be a tester, a manager can be a tester, a lead, whatever, PO can be a tester. Anybody can do it. It's like something that everybody can sort of do. And over time, it looks like as well QA would be something that almost everyone can do it. With that said, right, then how can somebody future-proof their work as a QA? And make sure that it's not like we're not going to be replaced, right? But then how can they sort of future-proof their work and future-proof themselves in this whole, the evolution of QA? Because the way you're saying it, I'm getting it's like this thing eventually it's going to evolve. Yeah, it's going to die. Yeah, it's going to die. And I mean, what are those things that you think maybe needs to really, they need to keep up with to be still relevant as well in the next 1 or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years?
Yeah, I think keep up with software trends, keep up with what's happening in industry, go to these meetups, hear what the professionals are saying. Are they trying to change the architecture of the way they do things? Will it affect tests? Are there new technologies coming into place? Are people now writing tests in Go? Or just align yourself to industry. Like look at what's going on in the industry and try and think to yourself, which okay, these guys no longer need automation testers because they can go and put a prompt in AI and AI can do the automation test. But do they know what prompts to put in AI? Do they know what test cases to ask AI to generate? There's your gap. There's your sweet spot, right? Special like enhance, put more emphasis on the value you add in that regard, right? Just look at where things are going and look at where you can fit, right? And it's not an easy thing, but for me, it's like I like software as a whole, like building it, breaking it. I really enjoy software. So whichever way it swings, for me, it's either I'm gonna go into something I've never done before and learn something, and I'm gonna enjoy every second of it, or try to. So I'm always ready to learn something new, right? But also I understand that there are limitations to these things that try to replace us, like AI, and that AI could never tell my team that, hey, if you see the reason there are bugs is because everybody's deploying willy-nilly. There's no process to how we deploy, right? So only I can do that as somebody who actually sees the problems that are going on, and I'm actually here. You need to have a mindset of looking for where can we improve. Always be hungry to improve on something, especially those places where the stakeholders keep complaining. The last 2 demos, the environment was down. You guys couldn't. Oh, we're having environment problems. What can we do around there? What should we be? So always try to improve and fix. If that's your mindset, you'll be sorted.
Nice. I mean, when you're talking about that, right? Hey, AI is gonna replace us and all those kind of things. A lot of people are sort of scared around it. I don't think I am. I just think it's gonna really make a sort of a huge impact on how some of these things are done. Just like probably back in the day when information was on the hands of a few, but right now it's a prompt away, or it's probably a Google search away, right?
And look at the rate of innovation now that everybody has access to all this information. Like new things are coming up all the time.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we are to, I mean, I've seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn. People will be like, I'm going to ditch all my developers. I'm just going to do this app with my, AI and all those kind of things.
Do it now.
Do it now, And they're going to use the very same broken code that was written by those very same developers they're talking about. But yeah, it's a problem for another day.
Yeah.
Where do you see, obviously, automation testing over manual testing yourself as well, using the very same mindset that people are saying, well, now we can automate creating software. Let's ditch all the You got what I'm saying? We don't need
Yeah, yeah.
manual testers. We can go to things like AppWrite. I mean, you can just explain a little bit about how AppWrite works, or Selenium, or any other automation testing thing that you sort of
Yeah.
know about. I mean, what do you think is the balance? Should be the balance there? Should it be 50% automation? Should be 50% manual? Is it something that has to worth more and stuff like that? How can they think about it?
Manual testing is going nowhere because there's limitations to automation. Computers will never replace people. I'll make an example, right? We can write an automation test for an e-commerce site, and you go to this site, we tell the test, go grab this gene for me, put it in the cart, go check out. The test can do that. Perfect. And now when the customer comes on, the UI is messed up. The dress looks like it's a button. The button looks like it's the dress. You don't know what's going on, right? And automation will never catch that because automation works in such a way that we're looking for a locator, get this element, do something, verify it's there, click it. Only a person can actually click around and say, hey, something's changed here. That's where manual testing comes in. It's very important to constantly run manual tests. Well, not constantly, but every now and then. Run manual tests on your system, catch the things that computers might not catch, right? Do funny things on the system, right? I've actually found that a lot of bugs that come out are usually found via manual testing. There's very few bugs that are found via automation, which makes me wonder, like, what kind of scripts are being written here? But I mean, it's a thing I've seen a lot. It's so
Oh, do we have a number on that? Do we have a number of, say, like 80% were found by manual testing and only 10% were found on this? Or is it just like 50-45 type of a thing?
hey, I would say it's a 60-40 thing, right?
Okay.
60% found via manual, 40% via automation, which is it's shocking because automation, everybody's like, yeah, no, if we have automation, we're covered. The tests are green, we're good to go, right? And then the product owner opens the app, touches a few things, and he says, nope, this is not supposed to be like this, right? So yeah, automation has its limitations, which is why manual testing is going nowhere ever. But I do think we do need to automate because manual testing takes a lot of time. It's a lot of time, and it's not a very nice activity to do. Imagine doing the same thing every Thursday and Friday. You are same test cases over and over for the past 6 months. Every time there's a deployment. Nah, that's
Makes no
not how we
sense.
shouldn't do that. Yeah, so there's a balance for me. And for me, I think each ticket in the sprint should be manually tested once, right? Manually tested, checked against the business requirements. Once it's ready, put it out into automation. Let it be automated. Let's not go back and manual test that. The next time we do manual testing must be exploratory. We just deploy it into the environment. Let's click around and see, right?
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my take on it.
So you're saying manual test is not going anywhere. Automation test as well, it's not like it's going to go anywhere because it has
Yeah,
its own obviously thing. So we can put it at a 50-50. It's like they're both equally important. Yin yang. Okay. Nice.
sure.
That was it. I mean, can we go back a little bit to your maybe some of your biggest challenges? I mean, you spoke about not really working for some time. For me, some time might be 2 months, it might be 2 years, it might be 10 years. How long was it, if you can sort of take us through that? Just take us through that, small story about it. Or it's a big
It was
one, if maybe it may be.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, so after graduation, I left NMMU with all the sparkle in my eyes, ready to take on the world. The world wants software devs, right? So I go to Cape Town, look for opportunities, get a ton of regret to inform you, flipping regrets. Yeah, so I get a lot of these. I start driving around my father's car. I had a little situation where I'd take people from my neighborhood. I would drive them to work, to the factories in Gilsrivier. We're now staying in Cape Town and Khayelitsha, drop them off, and then I'd either wait for them there till they knock off, or I'd go back and then come back and grab them, right? Transport system. Happened the next day and the next day, and the next thing you know, I'm a taxi driver. I know the routes. I'm chowing the yellow line like crazy. So yeah, that happened, and my old man wasn't very pleased with that. Yeah, but fortunately, again, by the grace of God, I was able to find a chap who gave me a chance. I was like, oh, you like software? Nice. You seem like you're really enthusiastic. Give me your CV. CV, and the rest is history.
How long did that happen for, if maybe you don't mind saying?
A little over 6 months, or maybe 6 months.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Would you say that was your most down moment? I mean, how did
it
it
was,
sort of impact you? I think maybe the
brother.
reason why I'm asking this, right, it's because I think the whole employment thing in South Africa, I think, is it going to like 42? I think it's 50 something or 40 something. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I saw some number somewhere, and it's growing up. It's not going down at all. It's going
Hey,
up,
bro.
right? And I don't know. For you, you sort of did a couple of good jobs. I'm gonna call them good jobs. People call them something else. I call them good jobs because every job is great, right? But then it's not really
As
what you
long as it's
wanted to do.
bringing money in. Yeah,
You got what I'm saying? And it's not really what you wanted to do be or to do, right?
yeah.
I mean, how did you go through that whole thing? I mean, it's 6 months. Hey, I mean,
Yo,
I feel
yo.
like it will feel like 10 years for me. I mean, how did you go through that? And what was obviously the attitude that you sort of kept on? And were you still applying for other jobs? So you were like, as long as we are making money and we are
Hey, my
eating here
bruh.
at home and stuff.
The thing about applying is that you can only take so many we regrets, you know, and then it discourages you in a way, right? So you might take a break for like 2 weeks from applying, and then one day you might be laying on your bed and you remember, hey, this is not what I studied for. Then you get back on that horse, you fix up your CV again, you start applying. So it's an on and off thing, this whole applying thing. But for me, it actually was a real low because yeah, I was asking myself things like, my other guys I went to school with, they sorted. What about me? Why aren't I getting anything? Right? I remember one time while I was driving this taxi, one of the girls I was into, right? So I used to see her around. She actually got into the taxi while I was driving, right? And you can imagine, like
Zoom.
I'm just embarrassed.
Yeah,
Like
it's
this
like
girl's
Zoom.
hey, bruh.
Yeah.
Hey, and she tried to act it off, be casual and cool. Hey, but nah, bruh. Never spoke to her again after that. And it probably wasn't that big of a deal to her, looking back at it. But yeah, for me, it was like, I was like, I shouldn't be here, man. Not that, like, again, there's nothing wrong with it. I did it. But you should always want more for yourself. Like, always try to want more. Like even where I am right now, I want more. I'm like, what is the next? What can I try and tackle? What's my next challenge? Yeah, so it was a emotionally trying time, mentally trying time. Didn't have any like-minded peers, nobody to talk about software. So you almost start to forget the craft in a way. But one thing about me is I always practice. I had a little broken laptop that had like one of the hinges was off. So when I opened the screen is
It doesn't lay back. Yeah, not like,
hey,
you
right,
know.
I'm saying. Like, hey, what's up with this thing? Oh, yeah, man. We made it. Like, if you really want to do it, you just put the excuses aside and you look at the resources that you have at your disposal and you try. You try. You just put your best foot forward.
I mean, the biggest. Were you staying at Kasi at that time? I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of this yappa yappas that happens at Kasi. If you happen to go to university, right? You
yeah.
probably either finish it and then you graduate, and probably your pictures are gonna go online and stuff like that. And
Exactly.
then you go home and not work. You're gonna
Yeah,
start hearing the streets talk, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then he just went and spent some money on Model C school and then went to the
Waste the
university
demand.
just to see and all those kind of things. I guess you were getting some of those, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess some of the people who will be listening to this great chat
Yeah,
that we are having here are also getting them, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to say how did you go about it because I don't think it's something you can easily go about it because as much as you say you don't care about what people are saying, some of the
It will
words
affect
gets
you.
to seep through. Yeah,
Yeah,
some of the
yeah. It
words
will.
gets to seep through and stuff like that. How did you go about it yourself? Like,
Yeah.
because
So,
I
so
mean,
for me,
sorry,
yeah,
the reason why I'm asking is because when you're talking about the whole 6 months thing, and I look at you right now, and even the time we spent in when I was in Cape Town and all those kind of things, I'm like, this guy looked like a very happy champ. What happened that time? Like, how was he? How was he that time? Like, was he as
yeah.
happy as right now and all those kind of things? So,
Nah,
and
bro.
it's just feeling heavy as we are talking right now. But yeah, you can go about it. How did you go about it there?
So, what one of the very positive things for me in my life is that my parents are very supportive. My mother will always tell me, like, listen, I know how they are in the hood. Just if you want to go stay elsewhere, you don't want to come back for the holidays, you want to do whatever you want to, that's okay. And then what she was telling people on the other side about me was that they'd ask, like, hey, when's Sim coming back from school? And she'd tell them, oh, that one, he's smoking tech, he's in rehab, fucked in his mind, he's on drugs, you know? So people never really expected too much from me. because they'd look at me almost as if to say, "Oh, Shane, man, he went to university and now he's on drugs." And that time I'm doing my internship. I'm earning these internships nowadays. I'm scared to even say how much I was earning. Internships nowadays are
How
paying
much were you
proper.
earning?
18,
How
I was
much are
earning
you earning?
3,000 rand. And when I
Yeah?
got to the gym, yeah, I'm telling you,
I don't like talking about salaries, but you just made me want to
it's
ask
actually not a
that.
salary, it was a stipend. But hey, bruh, that 3,000, hey, we needed it. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, so people would talk. I'm fortunately not somebody who is, I don't care too much about like fancy things or what people say. Like, I'm literally in my own head, I have my own problems. You can, unless you say it to my face, it's fine. Go and talk about it in your corners. It's okay. So I never really worried what people said. If someone says something that I felt like was nasty, hey, brah, you here now? I just love them. Hey, I'm here, brah. Ha, ha, ha. Gone. You no longer exist in my life, right? Forget that conversation even. So that really helped me a lot. I think if I was someone who took those things to heart, it would have driven me into a deeper depression than I was already in. Especially around the time when I was like failing. Remember, I told you it took 6 years to get my 3-year diploma.
Tell me about it.
Hey,
You were drinking a lot.
brah.
You were doing wrong things there,
Hey,
I guess.
don't say it like that. I'm still trying to get jobs here, brah.
But we are talking about it here, right? We're talking about your 6 years. Because right now we talk about the story when people say Shem,
Yeah,
Simoabantu. So,
sure.
but now let's talk about the time when you were playing. If you were,
I
by the
mean,
way, in that 6 year.
I was deep in the bottle. I was very deep.
Okay.
And listen, I knew bartenders by name, bro. Talking about. So yeah. So that was basically really it. So we got. Imagine coming from an environment where you watched like a hawk. You have to behave a certain way. You guarded. You're living with your parents, and now you are in varsity. You're getting a little stipend, money to get by. There's no parents. Your boys are here. For freedom, freedom. Yeah. So first thing we did with our freedom was go to Tops and see
Mm-hmm.
whether this freedom is really this really
That much
freedom.
free.
Yeah. So hey, went to Tops, right? Did our thing, and this was a regular thing. And the sad thing about being in an environment where all of like sometimes you have no one to say no to you. When you don't have anyone to say no to you, you will all continue doing that same bad you were doing. And one of the things that I actually realized that, listen, this is not me. So we have the first class at NMMU back then used to be at 7:45. So we used to call them 7:45. Say, 7:45? Yeah, tomorrow. So I used to go to every 7:45. Then one of my friends was just like, Sim, I'm not going, but they're not going to do anything to me. This guy stayed in bed and I went to the 7:45 alone. Came back the next day. He's like, Sim, man, hey, bro, go grab me a beer in the fridge, bro. And then it's like, you know what? Let me grab that beer and let me miss the 7:45. And then you end up missing one and two. You miss a lesson or two. It means nothing to you. You think you're still good. Eventually, it becomes a lot. It compounds, and you will see it in your marks, right? If you get to a point in university where your goal is to make DP, your goal is to get into the exam, you're doing something wrong. You need to reevaluate. That should not be the goal. And that was the goal for us. At least we made DP. Celebration. Jobs. Finished the exam. It was difficult. It sucked. I probably failed. It's okay. It's over now.
Let's
Celebration.
drink.
Jobs.
Let's still celebrate even if we fail.
Something is that. So it was very destructive path that we were on, and I think what woke me up was the academic exclusion thing. So there's a thing where, like, if you keep performing badly, you can get expelled from varsity. And then I got this thing, and I had to take it home to my dad. My dad is a hard ass. He's not like he won't say to he won't. Oh no, it's okay. Listen, you'll do better next time. Try again. He'll say, "What? My money? Go get my belt. Yeah, you go get it. It's for you. Go get my belt." So it was a very difficult conversation to have with my old man.
Yeah.
But again, they were very supportive. Yeah, I did extra classes. I had to do. So that woke me up. That made me realize, like, yo, they really spent a lot of money on this, and it's about to go down the drain. Yeah,
So
and
you
also you
think
get.
you really
Yeah.
needed that moment where you sort of get academically excluded for you to get to wake up? Because I think as well, for many people, in many cases in life, if you don't come across a very big challenge in your career, you will never get to realize that maybe you're in a wrong career, or you're in
Yeah.
a wrong boss shadow, or you're in a wrong company, or you're just
Yeah.
wrong with your life personally, everything. So you think that was very good for you, I said.
Unfortunately, yes, I think it was good. It's unfortunate that I had to get to that point.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that a lot of people warned me. A lot of people told me, hey, Brad, varsity, you're gonna have so much freedom, and
Mhm.
please watch yourself. Don't do this and that. Hey, but I got there and I did this and that.
You just did this and that, opposite of what they told you.
Bruh. So I think also like something we don't talk about enough is peer pressure. Guys, it's real. Even at this grown age of mine, you might find peer pressure. Like I told myself recently, like
It's even
something
worse
small.
when you're old, actually. You're going to end up buying Tupperwares and you fill them up in the whole can. I mean, I was...
Get him! Take him! Stop fighting! What stuff? Yeah, no, adulting's not easy, bro. Adulting's not easy.
See, okay. I mean, the reason why I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying there, I did stay in PE. You went to NMU, right?
Yes,
I did stay in PE. The nightlife there is nice. PE is nice. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? And yeah, we didn't really do partying a lot. I think most of our partying when I was there, I was working actually, was mostly like at home. I would call my brothers and maybe my friends and a couple of people, and then we do, Scorpo and all those other great things. But there would be days where we would go out. Yeah, you would go out and all those kind of things. And it's nice, it's beautiful, and it's quite calling for everyone, I think. Yeah. Okay. I did ask you a lot of questions.
Government must do something about these alcohol places that are close to schools, and that's not right, bro. You know how children are. You can't put so much temptation there like that for children. But anyway, yeah.
You're thinking the temptation is put by design in front of the schools. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the I get what you're saying. As much as you would like to say, well, I'm a responsible kid and all those kind of things, if you keep on seeing the bottle store here and you have a problem and there's this other, a test that was mooring you just a few minutes ago, you'd be like, oh my God, you answered my prayers.
Right there.
Yeah, at the top of your mind, you'd be like, I get so. I think so too, hey? It's the same as if you grow up in a family that goes to church. The first resort that you sort of have anytime you're going through trouble, or if you maybe get to see the church in front of you, you probably go there first. But if you're seeing these alcohol areas, and then your first resort will be that. But again, at the end of the day, I would say it's a student's responsibility. But it's a topic for another day. Maybe just to close it out, right? We're getting very close to completion. You said you like to call yourself a risk-based thinker. Some people might call you a pessimist. I don't even know what that word says. But you just like to think about, I don't understand. You're going to explain. You like to just think about the worst case scenario and start planning from there.
Yeah.
You hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. Correct. Can you take me through that?
Basically, what that means is how I think about things. I always think about what can go wrong first. Before I think about all that happy stuff, like, oh no, this can go right. We can win. We can take everybody's socks off, or whatever the term is. I always think about what can go wrong and how do we respond to when that goes wrong. So I like to plan from there. Maybe there's some trauma deep down, something psychological happening there. I don't know. But for some people, it kind of seems like I'm a pessimist is somebody who's negative minded. Somebody always thinks the worst, right? Okay. But I'm not thinking the worst. I really do hope for the best. I would like to think I'm a positive thinker. But I want to have a plan if things don't go our way. We can't leave here and say we're going to take a road trip across the country and we don't pack a spare tire, we don't have a jack, we don't, I'm thinking, what if the tire goes out? What if we need to, I like to plan, I like to feel solid ground under my feet. And this is how I approach work as well, right? So what could go wrong? So for instance, if we're dealing with a payment system or some sort of a fintech company going on, right? And we have capabilities to allow our users to maybe rearrange their dashboard on our site, and we can allow them to customize the website, and we also are processing payments. My mind will first tell me, let's first test those payments. Let's see what's going on. Let's make sure that those are working fine. The colors, the fun stuff, it's less risk. It's not likely to affect the business as heavily as if a transaction doesn't go through or if the wrong transaction goes through, right? So the heavier the risk, the more focused, the more priority we give that one. That's basically how I think about things.
Do you think maybe you had some trauma in your life that maybe made you think that hey, I was supposed to think of all these risks before I actually got to do these things. And I think maybe then now that got baked into how you basically operate,
Yeah.
like at the basis of it all, then I'm going to now start operating like this because I shouldn't have got into this trouble if I had thought of this thing in a pessimist way, like you say.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, for us, we don't like these trauma things, like they're very new to me and I don't really think too much about them. One of my friends said to me, you know why? So we were eating and he says, you know why your meat is the last one to get finished on your plate? And I'm like, no, bro, I just eat that way. It's just how I eat. He's like, no, no, it's because at home they told you start with that meat. Yeah, you better finish those veggies. Don't finish that plate, right? Because if you start with the meat and now you're full and now you're not gonna finish and now you're in trouble. So he was basically saying, so I'm not very much saying there aren't any traumas that are making me think that way. Very possible that there are. I don't know. But it's a way of thinking that I find works for me. And I find a lot of people, like for me, it's almost like common sense, like the whole pack a spare tire when you're going on a trip thing. And as much as the word is common sense, it's really not that common. People are very wishful thinkishy in how they think, and that's scary for me. That's very scary for me. I
Can you
wanna, I
explain
wanna
that
know.
that concept of wishful? Sorry, I'm sorry to disturb you
Yeah.
there because
No,
I
no,
think
no.
that's
It's
very,
cool.
very important. Like wishful thinking, because you say you are a risk-based thinker to say you
Yeah,
think of the risk and every possible important thing that needs to happen on this, and then you sort of
yeah.
like build on that. What about the wishful thinkers?
Hey, the wishful thinkers are the guys who just think, everything will go all right. I prayed this morning. God is there. Which is true. God is there. But God can let you fall face first. If you're not prepped, you will fall face first, right? So, some people are wishful thinking, in that you might find people saying, yeah, listen, we choose to do our deployments on a Friday, whatever, right? And we're not going to run any tests. We're just we're gonna shoot. We trust that these guys have done their thing, right? Something happens, right? Whereas if you were a risk-based thinker, you would have said something like, okay, listen, if something goes wrong, do we have a rollback strategy? Are we releasing this to all of our clients at the same time? Do you like look at what could go wrong? How can we mitigate it? If we're releasing it to all our clients at the same time, and they all find something wrong, they all think our system is shit. They all think we're incompetent. But if we released maybe 10% and something goes wrong, the other 90% they don't know. They still think we're the best of the best. Only this 10% we now need to manage and go and apologize and go damage control. So think about what could go wrong and plan for it. You walk out the house, you see the clouds are thick, take an umbrella. It's fine if the sun's out right now,
I
So that's
see.
basically it.
I mean, then how do you make sure that because I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a very thin line into between a risk-based thinker and getting lost in the weeds or in the woods or
Mm.
whatever they call it, wherein you now get into the smallest bits of what about if what if this tire is not the right fitting tire, but now
Yeah.
this spare wheel is coming from the very same car and stuff like that, right? I mean, you did mention think about something like, okay, you only look at the biggest test cases or the biggest
Yeah.
things that really are
Critical
the
ones.
supporting, the critical stuff. Thank you. The
Yeah.
critical stuff, and then you make sure that those ones are very cemented and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And how can you tell somebody who wants to now convert to be a risk-based thinker to say, okay, this is how you can go about it, but then make sure that you don't go below this line, because now you go below this line, then your life is mostly going to be about risk-based thinking, which means you're going to spend most of your life in your head rather than actually
Yeah.
executing.
Yeah. No, that's actually very true. There's a very thin line there. Yeah, so now you're bordering on being a pessimist. Now, if everything you constantly like, don't be a negative person. Even in how you present these things to your team, don't come and say, yeah, but if you don't do this, this might go wrong in production. Like, phrase your things correctly. So, in the event that something like this happened, how would we handle it, right? Don't think about these what could go wrongs or rather don't make them make you a negative person. Try to look at them from a positive way, like, okay, this could possibly go wrong. Let's do this. Let's prep. But I mean, things could still go right. We're definitely rooting for things to go right. But we want to put ourselves in a position to succeed or to minimize damage if ever there is any. So it's really just a person thing. You need to watch yourself to not be. Nobody hates a negative person all the time. yeah, I mean, for me, I don't really tell people when I'm planning for the worst. I just do it, and then yeah, and then we all there rooting. Yay! But I know I canceled that Betway ticket because I saw, hey, yeah, no, things aren't going right now. I'm checking the line, you know.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
so sorry.
I no, I really love that because I think when you talk about being negative, a negative person, and all those kind of things, I've read or heard something that says when you go with a negative mindset or a negative approach to anyone else, they actually go and close the gates of their learning from their brains, and they now start thinking of defense, defense, defense. And when
Yeah,
you're thinking or talking from a point of defense, you're never gonna learn anything.
yes,
We're never gonna improve anything, and we're never gonna get anything to be better from that point of view.
very true. Very true.
Okay.
Also, that's also why it's very important how you phrase things and how you communicate and speak to people. You don't want to put them in a corner. Don't make people feel like they have to defend themselves. Even if you're showing them something that might need improvement in their code. So notice instead of saying something that's wrong in their code, I'm saying something that might need improvement. Small things like that, right? So just watch how you're speaking and how you're delivering your message to the other person. Also in the interest of maintaining those relationships. Yeah, very important.
Okay. Second last question. I have second last
Sure.
question, and I'll give you a chance to give us an advice, right? As a late bloomer in this whole QA and obviously corporate space, right? People can be like, well, this guy probably cheated the ladder and he just pa, 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 and then he went up all the way up and stuff like that. What do you think, or what do you believe, or what do you think was one characteristic of you that gave you an unfair advantage over anyone else you were running the race with up until
An
right now?
unfair advantage.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe that you felt like it was a cheat code because I mean people talk about cheat code, people talk about X, and I don't believe in
Hmm.
X. I just believe there's just this one thing that you got to see you're great at, and then you stick on that, and then obviously 4 or 5 years later down the line, it feels like a hack because it feels like an overnight success. What do you think was that one thing that you felt gave you an unfair advantage over anybody else? Was it your English?
Hey, that no, listen, on a real conversation, actually. Unfortunately, the way the industry is set up, it actually does play a role in your
Okay.
English, as you say. And it might not be such a popular or nice thing to talk about, but I literally know a guy, two guys who went to the same interview for the same
Mhm.
company. The one guy's English isn't very great, but he's a lot better than guy number two in terms of technical ability.
Sure.
But guy number one didn't get the job. Guy number two got the job. Guy number two speaks like me. So awesome, man. Twang.
It's like,
Got this.
this.
Yeah. Water. You know? So I realized companies aren't really, it does play a part, right? How you speak. And that's very unfortunate because in our space, we are not speaking to customers. We're writing code. How we speak shouldn't
Mm.
matter. But there's various reasons for such things, right? Sometimes we need you to be communicating with a team that's offshore, and we need your English to be strong, right? Because that's literally the only way you guys are gonna. So sometimes there's valid reasoning, but sometimes you ask yourself, like, is this really what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
How did this, you yeah, but again, sorry, taboo conversation there. You had a question. I think I forgot it.
It's okay. It's literally around what you were saying. To say, do you think obviously your
What gave me
English?
an
It's
edge?
not up. Yeah, what gave you
Yeah.
an unfair advantage over everybody else for you to
So
just climb your ladders that easy, according to people?
So the biggest thing for me was that I understand software development. I have been a developer, right? So that was, and I found that in the spaces I was in with the other QAs, QEs, testers, a lot of them didn't really have a strong technical background or foundation. Because I knew things about what is this, polymorphism, inheritance, all these like things that I think are basic, but actually ended up being critical things that pushed me ahead of the crowd back then. Yeah. And also, I was always very visible. I would put my hand up in meetings, especially in meetings where I know the big guys are there. Even if I'm putting my hand up to ask a stupid question, let them know you're there, right? Very important for me, that one. So yeah, I mean that's literally just it. But the biggest one, my technical background, which is why I always tell people start with learning software. I think, the best way to start in QA.
Do you think your story as a taxi driver at some point plays a very huge role as well when you're doing interviews? Every time I do an interview and every time I introduce myself to people, I always say I like to say I'm a fanboy. And I think that is different
That's your identity, bro.
because that's my identity. And that is where most, if not all of my values really come from. Right? Do you think that plays a very good advantage? I know we are getting a little bit off track there, but we're just talking about things that are hacks to these things, because people come in, they'll be like, I work hard and I'm
a hard worker.
I'm a hard worker and all those kind of things. And I don't really think
Christmas time.
Yeah. So do you think that does play some sort of a role in obviously giving you this unfair advantage, getting noticed? And because I mean, you can be visible, but still doesn't get noticed. You get what I'm saying? You can just be visible like anybody else is visible and stuff like that, or you could be visible in an irritating way. To explain that, it's like you said you used to ask a lot of stupid questions. Sometimes there's people who just ask questions for the sake of asking questions.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it gets irritating
to the
people who needs to. It gets annoying because now you're just wasting our time on, where do I get water in the middle of the meeting type of a thing. But yeah.
So to answer your question there, yes, that did play a huge role in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's shaped like how I interact with people and how I see people. Like you say, you're a farm boy. For me, I'd say I'm a Kasi boy, right? I grew up in the hood where you can literally your parent can tell you, listen, go to the neighbor and go ask for some sugar. I grew up around people and I understand people, which is why in any job you find me in any building, I'll always acknowledge the cleaners, the security guards. Like, I'm not just gonna walk past you like you're not there, because I grew up around people. I've interacted a lot with people. I've had a lot of helping hands coming from people who don't even know me. So it has shaped who I am. It's made me more of a person, I guess. I was any less for, but yeah, I understand people. I can empathize, right?
Yeah, I think many people actually gets to sort of throw that away and be like, well, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I think it's what makes you human. Otherwise, maybe let's go to the last one question. What advice would you want to sort of give our people who are listening here? People who might be listening are like your high school. We're sorry for the language, some of the language we used there. Unfortunately,
yes.
At corporate, there is. We're not saying you should do it, but it happens. It happens, But then the people who are gonna listen here are like your high school, your university, the people who are starting out, and the people who are unemployed as well. Because I do think, like you said, you need to stay in touch even though you're unemployed, because you can, the same as a car, if it's not being used, it can get rusty, old, and whatever. The other bad word, they always stay, right? And then obviously the people who are growing in their careers. Do you have anything in particular that you sort of maybe would like to leave us with?
Yeah, so for the high school guys, I think QA is an easy way to get into industry. Let me not say QA, rather. Let me say testing, whether it's manual testing or automated testing. It's a very easy way to get into the software industry game, to get your foot in the door. So maybe consider chasing after like an ISTQB. Most companies will take you with an ISTQB and then they'll train you on further. They don't mind if you have no experience. One such company will be like Inspired Testing, right? They have like a nice grad program there for testers, and you can go to their website and check it out. Get yourself an ISTQB, get your foot in the door, right? Start looking at meetups. If you're in Cape Town, there's quite a lot of meetups. There's a tech ecosystem there. It's quite vibrant. It's quite awesome. So get involved in those. Don't go out for a beer with your friends. Go out to a tech meetup, right? And go listen to what other companies have to say and how they're approaching certain problems. I mean, if you really must drink, most of them have beer anyway. So 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm kidding. Do that. So yeah, and for the guys who are in industry right now and trying to move up, keep learning. Make sure you understand software, you understand how it's built, how it works, the best approaches. Listen to research. The internet is your friend. It is awesome. Get the different views of different people. Get your own view, right? Listen to these guys, formulate your own opinion, engage people. Like, even if you feel like, hey, this guy is right in what he's saying, but stand for your point, right? Make it talk about software, bring people out of their shells, share, exchange information. very important to collaborate with others, I think. Yeah, and for the guys who are like up there, seniors, principal, what devs, hey, just watch your back. These new ones, these young ones are they using AI properly. They know how to get the same work done in least time with least amount of effort. So watch the space, upskill, keep on your toes, you know. Yeah, that's pretty much it from my side.
Nice. I wouldn't want to take it further from here. Otherwise, I would like to just say thank you very much, Sim, for the wonderful chat. And yeah, I mean, people will just hear it from you. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people waiting to hear from you and a lot of people prompting me to hear what you say. And yeah, I
Thank you, my
really
brother.
enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much.
I truly appreciate it, bro, and thank you again for having me here.